if you have any valuable, any bags or anything that you want to leave here, we can put it in the back room and lock this one, because we will go for lunch to the building that is kind of beneath us.
The advertisement.
Yeah.
Well, just one thing. We are going to finish today in the afternoon with a Kahoot, which is a kind of tool we're going to use to gather your feedback about what we have done today, okay? So what I'm asking you is that if you can, in any moment during the lunch or after, before we finish the day, you can go and try to download to your mobiles this Kahoot app. Okay, so we can play at the end. That's it. The end of the announcement.
Yes, thank you. And now, across from us is the entrance of the other entrance of the museum, and left of that there is going to be a path down to the river, and the building is just right beside and beneath us. So I'm sure we can all walk together. If you have any valuables, please come to me and I'll make sure they'll be locked up. Yes? Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you had a good lunch and enjoyed the sun and the food and a little break. Maybe discussed a few questions, and we'd like to continue with Maxime Pousse from NOBATEK, INEF, who will present the users' engagement around the OptEEmAL project and platform, and the demonstration of the use of the platform. So enjoy. Thank you, Maxime.
So good afternoon, everyone. So no slides for me. I will basically present the platform, so use it as if I was, let's say, a real user. And the idea is just to show you how it works in practice and how all the things that we saw this morning are integrated into, well, this tool, and how this tool can be used. So I'll just close this. So this is the home page of the platform. I would say that as in whole tool, you have to register first to create an account, and when you have this account, you can then, well, log in and start using the platform. So this is, let's say, the overall screen that we have all along the platform. So on the left-hand side, you have here you have the list of projects you have created. So from my side, I have a lot of projects because we are testing the platform quite strongly in those days. Then here you have what we call the, let's say, activity part, when you will, let's say, use the platform and interact with the tool. And on the right-hand side, you have, let's say, some complementary information. And as it was shown this morning during the graphical user interfaces presentation, you have also the possibility to chat and to follow the activity that is happening on your project. So the first step, of course, is to create a new project. So you can do this either by clicking there or there. So if you click there, you have this pop-up, and you have to enter different information that will be used to, to create the project. One important thing to say there is that in OptEEmAL, and as it was presented this morning, you have 3 roles. You can be an owner, a prime designer, or a prime constructor. And depending on this role, you will have access to different functionalities into the platform. The project creation is only, let's say, possible for an owner. So we consider that only an owner can create a project because he is the one that will initiate, let's say, the process. So you have to fill all those fields, and then you have to click Create Project. So I did it this morning with this project, which contains almost no information because it's the beginning. So I'm using my mobile for the internet connection, so that's why it could be a bit long. And the first step is this one. So it's the creation of the Ipd Group. So as I just said, you have 3 types of role in OptEEmAL. So you have to, in this step, you have to invite the people that will work with you on the project. So to do so, it's quite easy. You just have to enter there an email address and there the name of the person. And when you click on invite, an email is automatically sent to the email address. And then the person has to click on the link and validate its participation to the project. And then you will see the name of the person there with the status joined. And once you have those 3 roles defined, you can go to the next step. And of course, you can invite several people for the same role, because you can have, for instance, several construction companies working on the same project. So you can invite several of them. So just a small word to say that I'm using, it's written there, I'm using the developer mode, which is not the mode that, let's say, future user will have. It's just to bypass it. In this case, I can go to the next step without having to enter 3 types of different roles. So it's just a way to go faster. Then we are starting with the first, let's say, a bit technical part, which is the upload of the file and the matching of the CTGML and the BIM files. As we saw this morning, we need different types of information to run the OptEEmAL process. And among those data, we need a CTGML file and IFC files. So what I did also this morning is that I have uploaded the CTGML file. So the case we will show there is the Quattro de Marzo, the district that we will visit later on. And so I selected the CTGML file that was prepared according to the guidelines that we set up for the project and that were presented this morning. So I just click on open there, and then you have the button there, upload CTGML, that is available. As I already uploaded the file, it's not available, but usually it is. And then, okay, I will go to the IFC file to show you then the checking processes. So if I want to, so I already uploaded one IFC file. If I want to import another one, I just have to select it, to click on upload IFC. It's loading, and you will see that the file will appear there with a status that is temporary, or temp, as it is shown in the graphical user interfaces. And here you will have a small button that is the checking button. This checking button will launch all the checking processes that were presented this morning to be sure that the file that is uploaded is compliant with the platform, and that we will be able to use it in all the simulation and in all the processes. So, of course, to move to the next step, you have to get all those files valid. Yeah, this is mandatory. It's taking a bit. Yeah. So there, you see you have the temp, so temporary file, and if I click on the checking button, so the checking process is running, and once it will be finished, you will have the status original. It means that the file is okay to be used in OptEEmAL. Of course, you can delete the files if you want to discard them, or download also the file to check that it has been properly imported. So we are just waiting for the checking process to end. In this example, I will only use let's say 2 buildings. Of course, we saw this morning that in the real case, at least the case we studied in OptEEmAL, we have 5 buildings, but it's just to go quickly because we only have half an hour for this presentation. I'll try it. So here I have the 2 IFC files that are uploaded and valid and ready to be used in OptEEmAL. So the next step, and just for you to, let's say, make the link with the presentations of this morning, at this stage we have on one side the CTGML file and on the other side the IFC files, but the platform doesn't know to which, let's say, to which building in the CTGML file the IFC files are corresponding. So you have to give this information to the platform. And to do so, you have this little interface, so the Bing CTGML matching interface. You can see here the district with the footprints of the CTGML files that has been uploaded. You can see here where we are now. And then you can, so to make this matching, you just have, and here you have the IFC files that have been uploaded. So you just have to select an IFC file. You can see its footprint there. You can select the corresponding footprint on the CTGML, let's say, file or map, and you just have to click on this button, Create Matching, and you see that the IFC footprint is appearing there. So then you can move, because you have to make it fit with the CTGML footprint, of course, because then it's used, as we saw this morning, for shadow and calculations and so on. So you have to make it fit with the footprint. So you can zoom in, and if I am not wrong, yeah. So you can rotate it, you can move it up, down, and so on. So this is for this building, the Turret Arena, and the other one is this one. So it's the same process. You create the matching, you make it fit. And then, I won't do it there because it takes a bit of time, but when you click on this button, so you save, it will launch the calculation that we saw this morning about the shadows and so on. So it takes some time. So we don't have the time there. The time is, let's say, around 10 to 15 minutes, depending on, of course, of the number of buildings, the size of the district. But yes, this is a couple of minutes, let's say. So what we will do is we will move on to another project, which is already calculated, because, of course, this is also something important to know, is that, as we discussed this morning, the calculations, the OptEEmAL calculations are taking time. I mean, you see all the calculations we are doing and all the data management processes and so on that we have. So, of course, we need time to do this. And it's not possible in half an hour to do all those calculations. So this is the project we will study. So it's the same, it's Quattro de Marzo, but all the calculations have been already done. So you can see here the matching that is finished. Yeah, we have an issue there, but anyway, the matching is finished, and and everything is in green because it has been saved. So if we go to the next step. So at this stage, we know the association between the CTGML and the BIM files. Now we have to enter the information regarding the energy system in the district, the energy systems that are currently implemented into the district. So so this is done through this questionnaire, and in OptEEmAL, generally speaking, the questionnaires are divided into two parts: one related to district above and one related to the buildings below. So in this case, we don't have any district energy supply system, so we answer no. If we answer yes, then we have additional questions, of course, to well, enter all the necessary information. And then we can select the buildings, so we can either select them all or if they have the same characteristics, or we can select them one by one. So here you see, and then you have the questionnaire that is appearing, and you have basically to answer the questions. So some of them are, I mean, during the trainings that we did and testing the tool with the demo site, having the answers to those questions was quite easy. It was not the most tricky part. Of course, the trickiest part was to have the IFC files properly done to use the platform. So you have to enter those different information, like the type of system, the capacity of the systems, well, if it's a boiler, the boiler type, the fuel type, and so on, and the efficiencies and so on. And then you have to select also, for each thermal zones of the building, you have to select the demand system, because of course this is needed for the calculation. If we, to have the final energy consumption and associated DPIs, we need to have this information. So you have to select for each zone the type of demand system. Then you can go to the next step. And the next step, so this is the, just as an overview, in OptEEmAL we have two main steps when using the platform. The first one is related to the baseline. It's the one where we will define the current situation of the district, or calculate, let's say, the current situation of the district. And then we have the optimization part, which will, let's say, provide the solution. So here in this step, we are in the last step of the baseline calculation. So we have the information about the geometries, the materials, thanks to the IFC and the CTGML files. We have the information about the energy systems, and we are missing those additional information that were also presented this morning. So to do this, you only have to click, so it's already done in this project, but normally the button here indicates a query, so you just have to click there, and the platform automatically gathers the necessary file. So this is done using web services and let's say known database. So for the climate data, this is the Energy Plus database, and for all other information, this is coming from Eurostat, the European Commission database. The only information that you have to enter manually are those ones. So the price of the current value of the biomass, and also the annual increase of the biomass. And the reason is that for this information, we didn't find any, let's say, relevant database, existing database, that was taken into account the very local specificity of this parameter. So then you can save, it's already done there. And here, normally you have the button indicates calculate baseline value. So you will launch the baseline calculation. Of course, again, this is already done there, so I don't have the button, but I can go to the next step. So starting from here, I'm working on the retrofitting project. So not on the current district, I'm trying to set up the retrofitting project and the way the optimization will work. And of course, the baseline calculation are working in the background, and I will have access to the results later on in the coming phases. So we saw this morning that we have more than 130 measures in the ECM catalog. So of course, all those measures are not necessarily relevant for the case we are studying. So we have to, let's say, filter the ECMs that we want to study. And this is done again through this questionnaire that is divided also between district and buildings. And you have to answer the same as for the baseline energy system. You have to answer the questions to make this filter among the ECM, the possible energy conservation measures. So first, do you want to connect basically your buildings to a district heating network? So you can answer yes, and then you have additional questions. In this case, it's no. And then you can select in the same way either all the buildings or select them one by one, and you have to answer the questionnaire. And the questionnaire, it's the same, it's quite simple questions, but that allow us in the background to make the selection of relevant ECMs. So you have, I won't go into all the questions, but you have, for instance, can you modify building facades? If you say yes, then can they be refurbished externally or internally, and so on. And you have this basically for all building elements. By building elements, I mean facade, roof, slabs, and windows, and so on. Trying to stick to the timetable. So at this stage, the platform will propose the selected ECM, so the ones that have been selected among the full list through the questions you have provided to the questionnaires. So you can select a building, and you will see the list of ECM that will appear, classified by category. So you have, as we saw this morning, the active, passive, control, or renewable ones. And for each of the category, you can see here, of course, the description, the name of the measure, and some additional information like the type. Well, of course, it's written there. The application scale, if it's at building or district scale. And if you want to discard it from the optimization process, you can just click there, and you will eliminate it from the whole optimization process. So it means that this measure will not be considered in the rest of the process. And also, what you can do is that you can edit the prices information, and then we, let's say, give this opportunity to the user, because we know that prices are very different between countries, even between towns in a single country. So that's why we let this, let's say, possibility to the users. So you have to do this, of course. It's a bit one technical, and two not time consuming, but you have to review the full list. But this is important because, of course, the solution you will have in the end is based on the selection you will do there. And so step 7 indicates is basically the user has nothing to do. This is just for information purposes, but it's the results for the baseline. So while I have, let's say, answered the questionnaire and selected the ECM, the baseline calculation have let's say, been done, and now the results are visible. So I won't go into all the details because we have several DPIs, but just to tell you that you have, of course, energy DPIs, comfort ones, environmental ones, economic ones, and we are working on the integration of social, urban, and global ones. So basically, at this stage, you know the current performance of your district. And when I say current in this presentation, it means before retrofitting. Then we are coming to the part where we will, let's say, define the objective, or what we call the targets, and the limits, the boundaries of the project. So you have mandatory information to provide to the platform, those 3 ones. We saw it this morning. So the investment, the payback period, and the energy payback time. This is mandatory to run the optimization process. And if you save this, then you can set additional constraints, let's say, to the optimization process, saying, for instance, I want to achieve for the final energy consumption, I don't know, this value as a maximum, so 20 kilowatt hour per square meter per year. And the optimization process will, let's say, move to, or go toward this target. And you can do it basically for all DPIs. Then it's so, and we saw it this morning also. It's we have to define the weighting that we will apply on the different DPI into the optimization process. To do so, you have 2 ways of doing this. You can either use predefined weighting scheme or where you will basically select one sentence of those ones, and it will automatically affect different weights on the different indicators. So for instance, if you click on this one to achieve a carbon neutral district, then all the indicators related to CO2 emissions will have a higher weight, of course, and the other ones a lower weight. And the other possibility is to use the, let's say, manual way, and it's the pairwise comparison that we saw this morning. So you have to put more weights. Let's say each indicators are compare the one to the other, and you have to put the weight where you want to put more weight, basically. So if you want, again, if you want to prioritize the CO2 emissions or global warming potential, you just have to move the cursor to the left. And then once you saved, you have, again, we saw it this morning, the different weights that are considered for the different DPIs in the optimization process. So at this stage, we provide what we call the problem summary. So in the problem summary screen, you have the baseline values, so let's say the current performance of the district. If you set an additional target, or if you set also boundaries, so a minimum and a maximum boundary for the different DPIs, and also you have the measures that you can see the measures that you will consider in the optimization process. So it's loading, but it's the same screen as we saw before. You have the different categories, and you can see the measures that will be considered in the optimization process. And you have the same for district. In this case, as we did not select any ECM at the district scale, of course, if I click there, you will have no measures. And here, at this stage, OptEEmAL has all the information to start the optimization process. So again, it's already done in this case, but normally here it's written start optimization. So when you click on this button, you have a pop-up saying the optimization is about to start, and this is not written, but it's you have to know that it takes time, and we are talking about hours of simulation, of course. So it takes time, but of course, as Luca mentioned this morning, the user is not forced to be in front of the computer looking at nothing, basically. So you can do other things meanwhile. So to follow the optimization process, you have this little screen. So if you want to stay in front of the laptop, you can, but it's up to you. But basically, it says when the process is started and when the process is ended, and that's it for this screen. So this is probably at least the results of the optimal solution. So this is one of the most important parts. Here you have the Pareto front. So in this case, we had only 3 scenarios fulfilling the objectives that we set for the project. You can select the scenarios by clicking there or clicking on the graph. And for instance, so let's choose this one. If I choose this one, then I have the value for all the DPIs for this scenario, the value for the baseline, and let's say as a reminder, the target and the boundaries that were set. So of course you can compare the results you have with this scenario and the ones you have in the baseline to see the improvement that you have with this scenario. And at least for me, what is let's say the most interesting part in OptEEmAL is that here you can select a building and you can see which measure have been considered for this building. So to achieve those results, I have applied on this building a condensing boiler, a DSL boiler with this capacity. And this is the same for all types of measures. So for instance, for passive, I have used these passive measures, so external thermal insulation composite system with this thickness and this material. And this is, of course, this is the main outcome of the platform. because it gives you, for the different buildings of your district, or even at the district scale, the measures to be implemented and the associated results. And if you, let's say, if you consider, so you can check the different scenarios, and once you have chosen the one that is the best for you, because it was presented this morning, we didn't want to give only one result, so only one scenario. We want to give a set of results, and then the user is able to choose the ones that is the best for him. So once this is done, you can export the results, and here you have access to the output, so you are able to download the outputs. And as outputs, we have Excel reports. So these are the reports. So you can have the baseline results, all the problem definition information, all the information related to the final scenario and the comparison with the baseline, and also all the information from the ECM catalog for the ECMs that have been applied in this scenario. And well, just to show you, so this is not fully finalized, but for the final scenario, you have this Excel file, and basically what it gives is the results. So for the baseline, for the final scenario that you selected, the comparison and some graphs, just if you need the, well, and then you can use the information as you want. So for the different, let's say, subcategory of DPIs, you can have access to all the, let's say, the detailed results. And then you have, let's say, what I'm calling, but I don't know if it's the right word, it's the numerical information. So you can download the IFCs that were uploaded at the beginning. You can also download the CTGML file, of course. And you can also download information about the different data models that were created or generated during the OptEEmAL process. So you saw this morning that to integrate all the information that is coming from different fields, we are creating different data models, and you are able to download this information. This is a way of, let's say, putting transparency in the tool so that you can see where the information is stored and how it has been stored. Of course, this is quite technical. So usually owners of the building will not go into this level of detail, but for technical people this can be useful. And I guess that's it for the presentation. So yeah, just some, let's say, overall information is that to model, let's say, to use the platform, we are depending again on the size of the district and the number of buildings. You will need between 1 and 2 days, including the calculations, like the optimization and so on. And then you have also for the moment we consider that this is related to the use of the platform, but in the future we hope that everyone will have an IFC file for our existing building. Well, we're not into this yet, but let's see in the future. But for the elaboration of the IFC file, it's just to give an idea. You need between, let's say, 1 and 2 days per building to get the proper IFC file generated. It's, well, for people that are used to make those IFC files. So in total, including the elaboration of the IFC files, we consider that, let's say that in 1 week, you have basically do all the OptEEmAL process. And of course, this is way more faster than the current practices for the design of a retrofitting project. So that's it for my presentation. Well, I don't know if we take quick questions now or... Okay, so if you have any questions, yes, Eileen.
Well, maybe this is a question for Technalia or someone else, but I feel that it's a bit odd to get the suggestion to install a diesel or natural gas boiler. Is it possible that the tool can weigh the DPIs in another way so that maybe you can work with nudging methods to make the users basically they should never even get that suggestion?
Yeah.
Or they have to actively choose that.
Yeah, it's more designed in that way.
Yeah.
Let's say that we let the opportunity to users to select the ECMs that they want, including all diesel boilers. Now the thing is that I don't know, and this is just an example. I mean, maybe for economic reason, it could be interesting to implement a diesel boiler. So if you are really focused on economic aspects, then maybe this is the optimal solution. Of course, in the optimal context that we saw this morning of GHG emission reduction and so on, well, obviously not. But yeah, this is open to the user.
Maybe it should come with a red flag or something. Yeah. This is not compliant with EU goals or
with the EU roadmap. Yeah, no, but that could be also a possibility. Yes, to let's say limit the selection of ECMs that are not necessarily in the good practices.
Yeah, or instead of having to remove the box, if you want it, you should have to go in and actively put a tick in the box.
Having them discarded by default, and then
exactly.
Could be a way also to do it.
Yeah, maybe I can clarify that again. One of the reasons for the diesel boilers to be there is because all the active ECMs that have been included in the platform have very high efficiency rates. So even though we are using traditional fossil fuels for heating in this case, the use of those fossil fuels is being optimized. So maybe there's no renewable resources in one of the projects in one case. So we thought it would be interesting to give that opportunity to evaluate one very efficient traditional energy source.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for now? Okay, then we will proceed to our roundtable. I will just give you a brief overview.